Okay, so electric vehicles are here, right? And they're not just changing a little bit, they're changing everything about how we get around. We're talking about one of the biggest transportation shakeups in a century. But here's the twist. As millions of us get ready to plug in, it turns out the biggest challenge isn't building a better car. It's about building a smarter grid.
And that question, that's really the heart of what we're digging into today. We're going to see how something as simple as charging your car is forcing us to completely rethink our entire electrical system. And believe it or not, how this massive problem could actually lead to a pretty brilliant solution.
All right, so first up, let's just set the stage a little. This whole shift to electric vehicles, it's not some far-off future thing. Nope, it's happening right here, right now, and honestly, it's speeding up way faster than most people even realize.
And if you want some hard numbers, get this. Over 6 million households in the UK alone are already planning to buy an EV by 2030. Think about that for a second. That is a staggering number of brand new, power-hungry devices, all wanting a piece of our grid.
And look, this isn't just people deciding they want a new car. This is being driven by some major government policy. I mean, with the UK planning to ban the sale of new gas and diesel cars, this transition is basically inevitable. The electric future is locked in. But that brings us right to the big problem, the real conflict in this story.
Yeah, the problem is our electrical grid. This massive, incredibly complex network. Well, it was built for a totally different time. An era of predictable stuff, like light bulbs and TVs, not giant car batteries that need a ton of juice.
This quote from a major smart charging study it really hits home. Charging an EV is equivalent to adding an additional house to the network. Just let that sink in. Every single time an EV plugs in, it's like a whole new house just popped up on your street, screaming for power. Now imagine thousands or millions of them doing that all at the same time.
So take a look at this. This is what a typical day of electricity use looks like for a single home. You see that big bump in the evening? Of course you do. That's when everybody gets home, flicks on the lights, starts cooking dinner, turns on the TV. The grid is already working its tail off during these peak hours.
Okay, now hold on. Watch what happens when we throw one EV into the mix with what we call uncontrolled charging, which basically just means you plug it in the second you get home. That evening peak, it doesn't just get a little bigger. Whoa! It turns into this gigantic, dangerous spike. The system just was not built to handle that kind of hit. And the consequences of that kind of overload, they're really, really serious. We're talking about local transformers getting completely fried, power lines exceeding their safety limits. You could even see voltage drops across your whole neighborhood. All of this just wastes energy, and even worse, it causes actual physical damage, making the critical gear we all depend on get old way before its time.
So yeah, clearly, just letting millions of cars plug in whenever they feel like it is not going to work. We have to get smarter about this. And this is where the first part of the solution comes in, using a little intelligence to manage all this new demand.
And that solution is called smart charging. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Instead of a dumb plug that just unleashes a fire hose of power, it's a system that actually thinks. It coordinates the charging so it happens at the best possible time, not just for you and your car, but for the entire electrical network.
In this comparison here, it makes it crystal clear. On the left, you've got that huge, chaotic spike from just plugging it in. But look at the right. With a smart system, it sees you've plugged in, but it waits. It waits for that perfect moment, usually in the middle of the night when demand is super low, and then it starts charging. Look at how it just completely smooths out the load on the grid. It's beautiful, right?
There's a cool name for this too. It's called valley filling. You're literally taking that demand from the evening peak and just dropping it into the overnight valley when the grid basically has tons of extra room. It's a simple idea, really elegant and incredibly effective. But what if we could go even further?
Okay, this is where the story gets really exciting. Because managing demand, that's one thing. But what if the EV wasn't just a problem we had to solve? What if it could be turned into a powerful asset that could actually make the grid stronger? This is the whole idea behind vehicle-to-grid, or V2G, and honestly, it's a total game changer. It means your car isn't just a one-way street, taking power from the grid. It can actually push power back to the grid. All of a sudden, your car battery, which, let's be honest, just sits in your driveway 95% of the time, becomes part of this massive distributed energy network.
So how does this actually work? Well, with V2G, all those millions of EVs become what experts call distributed energy resources, basically little mobile power plants. They can send a little bit of power back to the grid during those peak evening hours, a technique called peak shaving, which actively knocks down that dangerous spike. They can even help keep the grid's frequency stable, giving the whole system a kind of flexibility it's just never had before. But as you can imagine, trying to manage millions of these tiny mobile power plants is, well, it's incredibly complex. And that's why researchers are now working on some really futuristic, decentralized systems that could let you and your neighbors trade grid capacity directly with each other.
And at the heart of this whole idea is something called a Network Impact Token, or NIT. Now, the best way to think about it is like a digital ticket. It's not energy itself, it's the right to use the grid's capacity at a specific time without accidentally blowing up the local transformer. So here's the play-by-play. First, your home's smart system figures out its energy plan. I need to charge the EV tonight. Then it calculates whether it has enough of these impact tokens to do that, or maybe it has some extra to sell from its solar panels. Next, it hops into a super local peer-to-peer market to buy or sell those tokens with your neighbors. And the result? All the energy use in your area is automatically balanced, keeping the local grid perfectly happy and stable. And the really key benefit here? This whole system works without some big central utility company micromanaging every single transaction. It's a decentralized approach that, 1, protects your privacy. You're not sending all your personal energy data up to the cloud. And 2, it gives you total autonomy over how you use or even sell your own energy resources.
So when you take all of this together, from the simple smart charging to this wild peer-to-peer trading, all of these incredible technologies are really just trying to answer one fundamental question. What is the absolute limit of our current grid? Where's the breaking point?
The fancy technical term for this is EV hosting capacity, and that's exactly what it is, the breaking point. It's the maximum number of cars a local network can possibly handle before the transformers start to sizzle or the voltage gets all wobbly. Figuring out this number is like job number 1 for every utility operator on the planet right now.
And this is what brings us right back around to the beginning, because what researchers are finding is that these incredible new systems, like the impact tokens, don't just help us manage the load within the existing limits, they actually allow us to increase those limits. By intelligently getting all these resources to work together, the very same wires and transformers can safely handle way more electric vehicles than we ever thought possible. Which leaves us with one last pretty fascinating question to chew on. For the first time ever, our cars are becoming a real part of our energy infrastructure. Your car could become a teammate to the grid, maybe even earn you some money, and make the whole system more resilient. The technology is pretty much here. So the only real question left is, are you ready to let your car join the team?